Two is always better than one, right? All right. Let's see if they can slowly start to hear me. Now, you said there's a couple people typically in class virtually as well. I know we got Peggy, of course. Kita, yeah, yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, I can.
Perfect. All right, good. You guys are on the speaker too. I think Matt
Matt's
Watson was
coming in. I'm sorry, Matt's coming in. He was on the wrong thing.
Yeah, it sounded like he was on my link. So,
Yeah.
good. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. How are
Ready
you?
for-
How about you?
Good. I can't complain. Just running around as per usual. Hopefully, you guys are ready for a jam-packed training class. We're gonna
Sure.
go. We're gonna be efficient today. I do have a meeting at 2, so we're gonna probably go from like 1 to 2. All right, and I'm gonna jump
Awesome.
right into another meeting. All right. So, but I've pretty much accumulated everything I've learned regarding the close, regarding based upon Grant Cardone, things I've learned over the years, just the psychology, all that. I've kind of combined that into one just good, solid workshop for you guys. So I'm excited to translate that over to you guys. Let me see if Matt is on yet. There we. All right, cool. Let's all boom when he goes. No, I'm just kidding. Matt. All
There he
right.
is.
All right. What's up, man?
You again.
Long time no see, Peggy said.
Yeah,
All right.
my hair is insane today. Oh my gosh. Oh well.
All right. Sounds good, guys. So can you guys can hear me very clearly, correct? Obviously, you guys in here can hear me. Good. All right. Good. All right, guys. So definitely want to make sure we got our notes out, ready to rock for that. There's a saying I always say before I start a workshop. Prior to any workshop I start, I always say this, and I feel like I have to. They say note takers are money makers, right? That's 100% true. So make sure we're taking notes throughout. That's like I think it's a pet peeve of mine. When I see someone, in a sit, or I see someone and they're not taking notes, it drives me nuts. If we can mute it up too, please. But it drives me nuts. The other thing too is a lot of times people say that knowledge is power, right? I think that's a bunch of BS as well, right? Knowledge is not really anything. It's not power, right? It's the implementation that truly creates power. It's the implementation, okay? So what I'm going to go over with you guys today, they say smart people, they learn from their own mistakes. Wise people learn from other people's mistakes. I'm going to go over a lot of the stuff that I've learned over the years that helped me not make those same mistakes over and over again, okay? So the topic of discussion today is closing. It's closing, and there's no surprise why they put me in charge of the closing workshop. Those of you guys that don't know me, I'm actually Giovanni, right? I was the top producer in the company 2017, 2018 for the whole year. The March Madness winner, March Madness here, you see it now, it's small compared to what it was, right? There's about 50 people, maybe 30 that are involved into it. But back in Pittsburgh, there was 13 different offices. The prize was a brand new car, right? This year, they're giving away a brand new Lambo. So I'm not even joking with you, a Lamborghini, that's the prize. So, right, last year was a Maserati. So they go hard, right? So winning the March Madness over there isn't easy, right? So, and all that being said, I've done it with 90% retention, things of that sort. And I don't say that to brag or boast whatsoever. I started out the same way you guys started. I started out in training class, not knowing a single thing, you know what I mean? So I say that with definitely humility, because I learned through these mistakes, like I said. And, like I said, guys, if you guys came to this company for sales, I hate to tell you that you probably came to the wrong company, right? If you thought that you were going to make a boatload of money in sales, you don't make a dime in sales. You don't make money in sales, okay? the way you make money and the way you protect families, the way you get the job done is when you close, right? It's when you close. And here's the thing. Sales closing is very important. They say that the definition of sales, the definition of actually closing a deal, selling a deal, is transfer of belief. It's transfer of belief. So you have to understand that we all have to be 110% sold ourselves first before we try to transfer that belief, right? They say the eyes, I've said this before, but the eyes are the window to a man or a woman's soul. You got to look them in the eyes and you got to tell them the deal, right? You got to tell them what it is. So they buy three things. Okay. They're going to buy three things. And this is what you have to be sold on, the three things, right? So the first thing they buy is you. They're always going to buy you first. Okay. So you got to be 110% sold on yourself, right? And you're probably thinking, well, gee, I'm brand new. I don't even barely know my script. I don't even know. It's okay. You have to act as if you are the best. You have to. You might not be half as good as Tommy right now, right? It's impossible to be there. But through repetition, through reps and reps and reps, you build confidence. There's this thing called emotional contagion, right? When you're confident, you're going to transfer the confidence, right? When you're confident, they're going to pick an option confidently. When you're excited, they're going to be excited. Guess what? If you're nervous, dude, they're going to be nervous to make a decision, right? If you're kind of like unconfident, right? Or you're not really excited, they're not going to be excited either. So you got to start selling yourself on these things because it's sell or be sold. You're going to sell them on why they need it, and they're going to try and sell you on why they don't need it. So you have to be sold yourself. You have to be sold on yourself. I always tell people this. I say, if you did a really good job, you know your script verbatim, you gave it all you got, you knew your rebuttals, you freaking just literally just nonstop with them, did a great job, then you know what? Shame on them for not buying. But if you don't know your script, right? Fumbling over words, right? Shame on you. Shame on you. You gotta got the reps, right? You gotta rep this out. It's not what you do from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sometimes it's what you do from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. that starts building that confidence and getting you sold on yourself, right? That's how you get sold on yourself. You start to get confident, okay? So the second thing they buy is the company. The second thing they buy is the company. So guess what? You got to be 110% sold on the company. Before you try and pick up the phone and call Joe and Mary, before you even try to sit with the member, you got to be sold on the company, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm sold as heck on the company. No company is better than this company. So appreciative for even being able to talk to you guys right now. I'm so sold on this company. During the pandemic, let's just put this into perspective real quick. During the pandemic that just occurred, right? A lot of companies, not knocking any other company, but a lot of companies were struggling just to stay above float. A lot of companies went under. I know a lot of my buddies own businesses that don't have them anymore, right? Our company, we've never done more than $7 million in a week in production. That's a lot for a company to do in a year. We did $7 million. That was our record. During the pandemic, we did $9 million worth of production. We didn't miss a beat during the pandemic. As a matter of fact, we grew during the pandemic. We beat an all-time record during the pandemic. Okay? So you got to be sold on the company. You have to be 110% sold on the company. You know, they say, I think it was Darwin that said this, right? He said, right? He said that It wasn't those animals that were the biggest, the heaviest, the most beautiful, the fastest. It was not those animals. It was the animals that were the most adaptable, that were able to live the longest. I was so impressed with how the company, within 9 days, we were literally, for the last 70 years, we've always done that in person. That's in our script. That's very true. For the last 70 years, we've always had to do this in person. And then the pandemic hits, and literally within 9 days, the company, not 3 months, within 9 days, the company adapted to being all virtual. Everybody, every single person, we couldn't go in a single home. They were able to adapt and go all virtual. Talk about adaptability. Talking about being sold on the company. They say we're recession proof, depression proof, and since we're in Chicago, I like to say bulletproof. Okay. But literally non-stop. Okay. Nothing's going to stop us. The third thing is being sold on the product. Because they're going to buy you, they're going to buy the company, they're going to buy the product. So you got to be sold on you, the company, then the product. Dude, our products are the best of the best. 110% guaranteed, especially for our niche market, right? They want black and white. They want to know their family's protected. What am I paying, right? I don't know about you guys, probably saw, but even during the pandemic, just using that as a more recent example, but you probably saw that a lot of companies had policies that were dependent on the stock market, right? These variable policies, things of that sort. That, unfortunately, during the pandemic, if there was somebody that needed money out of the policy, might not have as much as they thought that they would have, or during the pandemic, God forbid, died during the pandemic and not have as much as they thought that they had. Our policies, whole life, guaranteed forever. It's 110% guaranteed, black and white. Literally, it's going to ride with them forever and going to pay out no matter what, no matter when, 110%. So you got to start to think about this stuff. This is micro level. This is micro level. You got to, there's so much more detail I can go over, but you have to internally, in order to beat any objection, right? There's the internal, external objection. In order to beat any external, you got to beat your internal objection first. You have to be sold on those three things first. And here's the other thing. Dude, how can you not believe in this stuff? How can you not be sold on this stuff? Dude, people will literally, they'll spend money on a brand new pair of shoes. They'll spend money on a Louis Vuitton belt. They'll spend money on a car. They'll spend money on a Mercedes-Benz. They'll spend money on this. They'll have all this money that they allocate in areas they feel are more important. There's nothing more important than their family. Nothing. Right? So, dude, I'm sold on this. People will have, I just bought this new phone, right? People will have insurance. I'm talking about buying things, bought a new phone, right? Literally, they'll put insurance on their phone just in case their phone cracks. Guy asked me if I wanted insurance, $13 a month. I said, yeah, let's do it. I'm in the insurance business. I should probably get insurance on my cell phone, right? And then people will have insurance on their car just in case their car breaks down, right? They have to have insurance on the car. People will even have homeowners insurance on their house just in case there's a flood, or something like that along the lines. But you're telling me they don't have insurance on Mary, on Joe? Because last time I checked, this phone I just bought, who gives a crap if it cracks? If it cracks, it breaks, it's replaceable. If my car out there breaks down, who cares? That stuff is replaceable. If, as horrible as it sounds, the house burns down, as horrible as that sounds, I don't take that lightly, obviously. As horrible as that sounds, it's replaceable. Yeah, if Joe, he breaks his arm, yeah, we can replace that. He gets a cut on his leg, we can fix that up. But if Joe, the husband, if his heart stops beating, dude, that's called irreplaceable. Can't replace that. So they're allocating money and they're putting insurance on their phone, their car, their home. If something happens, but they don't have it on Joe, because here's the thing, without Joe, there wouldn't be a cell phone. Without Joe and Mary together, they're working as a team, they wouldn't have the car. They wouldn't have the home. So you most importantly have to 100% protect the most important thing, right? So that's why I literally, and I tell people this on my team, especially, like, you got to be so freaking sold that it's literally, to me, it's detrimental whether they buy or not. I swear to you, when I was chasing top producer, it wasn't because I wanted to make a ton of money. It was because, dude, I literally used to lose sleep if the person didn't get protected. I would literally be in my bed like, how did I let that happen? I need to practice more. I need to do more. I need to do this. It wasn't because I wanted to make a ton of money. Dude, I don't even know what I made that year. I do, but I don't. I really didn't care. All I cared about was protecting and making sure, because it was literally, and that's how you got to be. That's how you got to be. You got to be so sold that it bothers you. If they don't buy, it bothers you. Not because you didn't make a paycheck, because literally you're like, dude, Joe is so cool. Like, I can't believe if he passes away, they're screwed. Like, you have to be so, dude, I got a custom suit, right? And in it, you know what I put? I put a salesman is a sold man. You got to be sold. You got to be sold on this stuff. So freaking sold that no matter what, no matter when, it's going to bother you. It's going to bother you. Okay. So it starts with control. And I'm definitely going to go over control with you guys because I can't emphasize enough how important control is, right? So got to be sold yourself. That's how you're going to be sold. Oh, quick question. Let's see if anybody knows. Who are the best salespeople on planet Earth? See if anybody knows this. Who's the best of the best salespeople on planet Earth? The best salespeople. Can't be beat. That's a good guess. He said politicians. I don't know if you guys can hear.
Me.
What'd you say, Matt?
Me. This guy.
He's sold on himself. I like it.
Those who can transfer belief.
What'd you say?
Those who can transfer belief.
Those who can transfer belief. That's a good guess. Who in particular?
Are you looking for somebody specific? Or
Yeah.
just oh.
So who are the best salespeople on planet Earth? What do you think? One more guess. What do you think?
I feel like this is a trick question.
It is a trick question.
Is it
That's all right.
insurance?
I know it's in here somewhere.
Someone said insurance agents. That's what I would say. All right. The best salespeople, I was looking out for the moms.
I was gonna say parents.
Parents, close. The best salespeople on planet Earth are kids. You guys know they're kids. Dude, you know why? They literally are so sold that lollipop at the store, like they are going to die if they don't have that lollipop at the freaking store. They're so sold in their minds, right? And they'll cry and whine and complain until they get what they want. Now, I'm not saying we have to cry and complain when we're in the home, but they're so sold in their freaking minds, right? And if you guys listen to Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone, that's where I got it from. He says kids are the best salespeople on planet Earth. Okay, so little side note, but guys, so the second thing is going to be control. Okay, so let's see who can get this. I'm not trying to trip you guys up or anything like that, but let's see who can get this. Okay, guys, when we don't close, we lose. We lose. We're losers, right? When we don't close, we're losers, right? So we lose the battle, right? How do you become a closer? How do you become a like go from a loser to a closer?
In control.
Control?
Mhm.
You're definitely right about control. So all we got to do is add a C. You become a closer. That's how you become from losing the battle, right? Control. Got to get the control. Guys, control, you don't even have to say things in the most ideal way. I promise you, if you have the control, they're going to listen to you. And if they listen to you, the stuff sells itself. The stuff sells itself. So you got to get the control. As soon as I go on there, I'm not like, hey, Joe, how's it going? I don't do that. I'm literally like, hey, real quick, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Can you see me? Okay, great. Joe and Mary, right? Okay, real quick, go ahead and grab that quality control confirmation number. You're going to need that to be able to receive your very important benefits, right? Psychology tells you when you get these small little yeses in the beginning, and I'll show you guys how to get yeses throughout. What psychology tells you, if they're saying yes the whole time, you're going to be able to get the big yes at the end, right? So it starts with that control in the beginning though, right? I make them do stuff for me. I know it sounds crazy, but literally, when I would go in home, I would make them, I'd say, hey, we got to use your table. I'd make them, and I'd help them too. I'd be like, we got to clean off the table. Joe, I got to have you sitting right next to me. You got to like set the stage. You got to set the stage, right? So I tell them, I say, if their phone is this way, I make them put it sideways, right? If they're sitting on the sofa, heck no, that's not happening. They have to get to a table. They have to get to a table. Right? So make them get to a table. Right? And hey, here's the thing, guys, too. I don't say this to be like, and don't think I'm screaming at you. I'm just really passionate about this stuff. But I don't do this to be like, oh, you know what I mean? It's literally like our big motto is we serve, we don't sell. But here's the thing, the better we are at the sales process, the better we're going to be able to serve. It's just what it is. You got to get the control. Dude, it's like this. It's like a police officer. A police officer, when he goes to your door, he doesn't say, hey, is it okay if I get your license and registration? You're gonna be like, is this dude a real cop? Like, what the heck? Instead he goes up, he's like, license and registration. Like, oh, okay, buddy, I got you. Right? Because he has the control, right? Doctor comes in, he says, put your arm up, do this, do that. You just listen to him. Why? Because they're busy, important, they're in control. That's another thing. You got to act busy. Yeah, act busy. I tell them we've been in the area 7 to 8 days. I show them my schedule, right? If the wife, this is a big one because it's directly correlated with retention. If the wife's over here like this, oh no, Gio, I can hear you. And she's over here like, oh, I'm just making dinner for the kids. No, no, I can still hear you. And you know what we do? We want to be easygoing, so we just let it go. We let it go. We're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then what happens is finally at the end, you want to show options. Mary comes over, looks at the options, right? Or maybe she's looking in the screen and she's like thinking in her mind, she has internal objections, right? She goes, oh, we'll just do C, right? Joe's like, hey, we got to pick. She's like, hey, we got to pick. Oh, we're going to do C. They pick. What do you think happens? Like, do you think when you get off the Zoom or you leave that home, do you think they talk a little bit? Yeah. Probably going to talk a little bit. She's going to go over and be like, well, Joe, why was that so expensive? Why? Do we really need this? You know why? Because she wasn't there to listen to the situation. She wasn't there to listen to the term in whole life, right? She wasn't there to listen for the needs analysis where we're building up the needs, right? So you think that, hey, I'm just going to be easygoing. You have to get the control and you have to make them sit in the screen. This is super important, right? They got to value your time, right? You value theirs too, but you have to get that control. So as soon as she steps away, oh, no problem. I'll tell you what, this part's super important. I got to make sure that Mary comes back in the screen, right? And literally, like, I'll do crazy stuff. Like if they're sitting really far from each other, right? I'll tell them, I'll be like, let me ask you, Joe, Mary, how long you guys been together for? 10 years. That's a pretty long time. How'd you guys first meet? Right? They love telling you the story. I'll be like, all right, well, I'll tell you what, you've been together for 10 years. Sounds like you guys like each other a little bit. Let me get you guys a little closer, right? Like, I'm not just like, I need you guys to sit closer to each other, right? I build jokes, right? And I obviously, I'm not just like a jerk about it. You can say pretty much anything with a smile on your face, you know what I mean? But you got to say it in like a way where it's like, hey, real quick, I know we're going to be going over some very important benefits. and just, I don't want to give you a disservice. I need you guys both in the camera the whole time. We're going to be going over some very important benefits. Is that fair enough? Okay. Like, I'm not like a jerk about it, but you got to make sure you have to be like a robot. It has to be systematic. It has to be sequential. It has to be. It's like this. It's like if you're a doctor and you have a huge procedure, right? You got to follow step by step by step, or else you can freaking kill somebody, right? If you don't load a gun properly, it's not going to fire at the end, right? If you are trying to bake a cake and you don't follow the recipe to the cake, you might have a cake at the end, but it's not going to be the cake that you wanted, right? So you got to follow the sequential order. It has to start with control. It has to 100% start with that control. Always do stuff for control, okay? And then to maintain control, right? Keep them in the picture. You got to ask them. You got to use what's called, these are little side notes, but very important. You got to use what's called tie downs. You got to use 50 or more tie downs in order to be a 50% closer or better, is what they say. 50 tie downs. So are you recording yourself listening to how many times you say, does that make sense? Okay. Do you see exactly why they set this up for you and your family? Mary, you too, you see why this is so important? Those are what's called tie downs, right? Those are tie downs, and what it does, it gets their buy-in, right? If they're telling you, oh, absolutely, that definitely makes sense. Oh, they're telling you yes the whole time. You're getting their buy-in throughout, and it maintains the control throughout. You know, people used to tell me like, Gio, do you think, do you think that it's actually harder to get control virtually? I said, no, dude, I think it's easier. Because I constantly have to be like, hey, real quick, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. All right, did you get that, Joe? Okay, let me know if I got to speak louder. You're constantly asking those questions over and over and over again, okay? Little side note as well. Make sure that we say problem, concern throughout the whole thing. Problem, concern, issue. All right? This is how you build a sense of urgency. Naturally, okay, problem, concern, issue. If someone walked in here and said, guys, we got a problem. Us, we're going to look over and be like, we want to fix the problem, right? So what you have to understand is that you have to say problem, concern, issue, and you have to sell the problem before you try and sell the solution. You have to sell the problem. People are so fixated on selling the solutions. Like, oh, we got this freedom of choice certificate. Oh, we pay out 3. You know why the script says, there's a law passed by, Bush saying that insurance companies can hold your money for up to 6 months. You know why that's there before we bring up the 3 to 5 day payout is because they're not going to appreciate the solution if we haven't created a problem. If we say, hey, we have a 3 to 5 day payout, they're going to be like, oh, that's cool. Isn't that like every company does that? No, we bring up the problem first. When you bring up the freedom of choice certificate, what do? We say the problem is a lot of people used to prepay their funerals. People don't do that anymore. You got to sell the problem, okay? If I went up to Steven's here, if I went up to Steven and I said, hey, man, pretend this was a pump, right? I said, hey, man, I got this pump, this air pump. It's the best pump ever, man. This thing is like the fastest you ever. He's going to be like, that's cool, Gio. I'm like, you want to buy it for $50? He's like, no, Gio, I'm good, right? So he probably look at me like, why is he trying to sell me this pump, dude? Imagine the next day, right? Next day comes in, right? He's about to leave for work, and I walk over to his car, and I deflate all his tires, right? I deflate his tires. He walks out to his car, right? He looks at his tires. He's like, dude, I have no air in my tires. And I come around the corner all creepily, right? And I'm like, hey, man, I got that pump that we were talking about yesterday. Well, he's going to have to buy that pump or else he's not going to be able to leave the parking lot. right? And now today it's $100. Okay. So what did I do? I created a problem. It's not that we have to create one all the time, but you're at least revealing the problem. They don't realize that when something happens to both of them, the mortgage could fall on them. Like they're not thinking about that. They're not thinking about the funerals going up to 80, 90 grand, 100 grand. They're not thinking about that stuff. So you have to reveal the problem, the concern, the issue. Tape yourself, record yourself, and look at how many times you say the word problem, concern, issue. I say it so many times, problem, concern, issue, problem. I say it so many times that their blood's boiling. Like they're like, dude, there's a problem. Like there's a problem, right? The other thing you want to say a lot of is today. Today. Record yourself on this. How many times are you saying today? You say today, 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 today. Joe starts talking about tomorrow. I'm like, Joe, we're not promised tomorrow. And yesterday's definitely not chasing us around for the mistakes we made. We're talking about today. I don't say that to him, but that's what I'm thinking in my mind. Like today, today. Do you see why that's so important to make sure that Stephen, you were covered today? Do you see exactly why they set this up so that we can get you all squared away today? Right? It's assuming as well, assuming the sale, right? So once you start to do stuff like this, guys, once you really start to, adapt your presentation, because I used to think that closing was me going back and forth with somebody at the end for 20 minutes and finally closing them. I'd be like, yes, right? I used to think that was closing. That's not closing. Closing is being the best at being proactive. Closing is being proactive. You have the best to handle an objection, handling the objection. You got to be the best proactive person. Okay. So here's the two types of scripts that you can have, the two types of presentations you can have. And I trained Vince, so he might have went over this in rapport building, but what we need to understand, guys, is if you have a triangle, right, as your presentation, what will happen if you feel like you're getting beat a lot, if you feel like you're going back and forth with people at the very end, or maybe people are saying, I want to think about it, I can't afford it, things of that sort, it's usually something's wrong with our presentation. So what we need to do is we need to find the receipt. It's busted. We need to return it, is what Simon said to me, right? So you need to return it. It's busted. You need to reevaluate the script, reevaluate your presentation, and it needs to be more like this. But what you'll see here is it starts with control, right? Like we talked about. That's why control is the most important thing. Control. If you don't really get a lot of control in the beginning, you're not really building any rapport with the client, right? You expect these people to pay for their entire lives, and you want to build 5 minutes of rapport. You got to build some sort of relationship. You got to have some sort of connectivity with these people. People don't give a crap how much you know until they know how much you care about them. You got to really, really care and look into, finding out about their family, finding out about what their hobbies are. And here's the thing, you might find out that, you never would have asked, but you asked about their parents and they said that their dad just, died a couple weeks ago. And he was only 50 years old, and the gentleman you're sitting down with, maybe like you can find this stuff out and then use it in the close, not as leverage, just as showing them that you care and you listen to their needs, right? So rapport, so vitally important. Tie downs, saying problem, today, concern, issue. Dude, at the end, if you miss this stuff, what happens is you're going to be at the end trying to close them. You're going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you're going to think like, oh, is this normal? We just go back and forth. No, it's not supposed to be normal. You're supposed to just literally, you guys know when I pitch, and it's not small deals, $3,000, $4,000 deals. They just pick an option. I'm not saying that to be arrogant or cocky. To be honest with you, like I said, in the beginning, I never would have been able to do that. It just takes mastering your craft. They just pick something. And it's like $400 a month. Why? Because they see so much value in it. They care more about it than they care about their cable bill. They care more about it than they care about honestly, like going to basketball games, going to season tickets to hockey games. Dude, they don't care about that stuff because this is more important. This is where you have to transfer that belief. You have to transfer that it is more important, right? So if you find yourself going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, there's something busted up here. We miscontrol, misreport, something, our presentation sounded questionable, right? You want your presentation to look like this. When you have a lot of control, right? Making them do stuff, right? They're grabbing a pen and paper. They're actually taking notes, right? You build rapport, right? You build a relationship with them, show them that you care, right? You say today a lot. You got a good, solid, your presentation's on point. We're not skipping stuff or messing stuff up. What's going to happen is you're not going to have to close at the end. Literally all the proactive objections have been handled, and they literally just pick an option. They literally just pick an option. Simple as that. So you want to kind of figure out what your presentation is looking like. If you're getting constantly beat on things, right, you need to make sure that you figure out and record your presentation and figure out where we're getting beat on or what we're getting beat on so that we can move forward. Okay. Because throughout the whole situation, like I said, you want to be very, 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 very proactive in your process. I want to think about it. I can't afford it, right? You want to, it's important. You want to know how to, handle those objections, because you can be the best in the world and still get some objections for sure. But literally what will happen is you won't have to go through that stuff. Now, if you have to be reactive, well, there's only really two plays they can run. I don't care if you're the best football team out there. If you can run a sweep left and sweep right, and those are the only two plays you can run, I'm beating you. The only two things they can really say are, I want to think about it and I can't afford it. So what do you really need to get good at? You need to master, I want to think about it, and master, I can't afford it. You need to have 5, I want to think about it, and 5, I can't afford it. It's down, mastered, done. You don't do it until you get it right once. You do it until you can't get it wrong, right? That was me. Like, I was literally here till 3 a.m. with a candle. There was like lights out. I'm just trying to figure out what I did wrong. You got to self-evaluate, right? A lot, right? I was far from perfect. I was messing up everything, right? Still, I was a knucklehead back then. And I like to say I still am a knucklehead sometimes, but a little bit better. But seriously, like, I literally just evaluated over. That's why we're blessed. We have virtual. You can literally record every presentation that you ever do, and then literally watch as days progress, as weeks progress, as months progress. You just get better and better. It took me a long time to get good. It took me a long time to get really good, right? So, you got to constantly practice this stuff. And so it gets to the point where literally, like, if I call Steven, I call Matt, I call, Peggy, I call you guys. I'm not like, hey, how was your weekend? I'm literally like, hey, man, I want to think about it. Like, literally, I'm calling you or I see you in the hall and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I can't afford it, right? Like, that's the type of stuff you got to be on. Constantly talking about this stuff. Dude, if we can't close, we need to lock ourselves in the room and just hit me with, I want to think about it. Hit me with, I can't afford it. Like, it took me hours and hours of beating on my craft in order to get good. That's the only way I know it, because I'm not the smartest, right? I'm not the best, but I know that I can lock myself up in a room and practice and practice and practice until until it's perfect, right? So you got to constantly practice that stuff. I swear to you, that's what I do. I'll call up Matt Hunsberg right now. I want to think about it. He's like, so, and then he'll give me, I want to think about it, right? And it's hilarious because it's a true story. We do it in the hallway. Hey, I can't afford it, right? All right, he still got it. He's still good. All right, cool. Just checking you, man. You know what I mean? So, yep. So that's what we got to do, guys. Now, last thing before I gotta unfortunately go, guys. It's 1:40. So I'll talk fast. No, I'm just kidding. So this is the last thing before I have to get out of here, guys. Blessed to be able to talk to you guys. Blessed to be able to go over this stuff with you guys. I wish I had this stuff when I first started, but it took, 6 months, 7 months. It took to the point where, on Google, when you click on something and it turns a different color, like you click on maybe a page or whatever, it got to the point where there's 4 pages down and I've clicked on everything. Like AIL is going to give you a tool belt. You got to add tools to that belt, right? So this is the recipe for closing. Now, before I go over the recipe, because it's a 5-step recipe, it works like a charm. Before I go over this, I want you to know something. The number one rule of selling, 100%, the number one, always, 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 always agree with them. You have to agree. You know how they say the customer is always right? Well, that's not always true. Customer's not always right, but you have to, like, if they're saying that this wall is white, I know it's gray. I painted the wall myself. I know it's not white. I bought the paint. But if they think it's white, you agree with their perception. Always agree with them. Always agree. Always. They say it's, yeah, exactly. They say it's too unaffordable. Agree with them. I do. I agree with you. It is a lot of money. Literally agree with anything. We just bought a mortgage, so we got to hold off on this. Yeah, I agree with you. Agree with whatever they say. So here's the 5-step recipe. Okay, then I'm done. So stay with me on these last 5 minutes, guys. Stay with me, okay? So 5 steps, okay? Because what they do, they give you an objection, and we come back with a rebuttal, right? That's what's happening. So they give you the objection, we come back with a rebuttal, okay? But first, before we do that, so 5 steps. The first thing, when someone gives you an objection, right? They say, I want to think about it. They say, whatever. Okay. The first thing is you gotta act calm. The first thing is act calm. The worst thing you can do, guys, is, Steven, say I want to think about it. Let's say I get out of the screen, right? You say,
Gio, this is kind of sudden. I think I need more time to think about it.
yeah, no, Steven, I get where you're coming from, but just, like desperate. You got to calm down, right? So just say, I want to think about it again.
I want to think about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. See that awkward silence too? People hate silence, right? You ever been on a first date and you and the person aren't talking? You're like, this is awkward, right? Don't like silence, right? So I this whole time, you've been talking the whole time, and then you pause for a second, right? So if it's freezing up, let me know too, guys. But number 2 is agree. Can you guys hear me? Is it good now? Thumbs up? Thumbs up. Okay. All right, cool. Sorry about that. The internet, the good old internet over here. But so the first thing is act calm. The second thing is agree, understand, and show empathy. Agree, understand, and show empathy. Right? Like I said, if they say, Gio, I'm not going to lie to you. I just bought a mortgage. I really do feel like we should wait on this. I would just say, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Just bought a mortgage. I mean, to be honest with you, I agree with you. I'm with you, man. You just bought a mortgage. That's a big thing, right? Right. And then I would go into the third thing. So always, yeah, hey, I'm with you. I agree with you. I understand. Yep, absolutely. I totally get where you're coming from. That's always agree, understand, show empathy. Third thing is proceed to rebuttal. Proceed to rebuttal. Right? Now you go to the rebuttal. Right? It's like when you're on the phones, guys, and they say, can you just mail this out to me? If you say, no, we're not able to mail it out to you. Nah, that's not too good, right? You got to be like, that's actually a great question, right? Act calm. That's a great question, right? That would make my life a lot easier. I agree with you. But the company does require, you see how you don't want to start with a disagreement. A sure way to solidify their decision is to disagree with them. If they say, I want to think about it, you're like, well, why would you want to think about it? This is your family. They're going to be like, oh, now they're really going to want to think about it, right? A sure way to solidify their decisions to disagree with them. So number 3, proceed to rebuttal. Number four is close. What do I mean by that? We do it on the phones, right? We do it and I'll do an example, just something, I just thought of the mortgage thing and it's off my head, but on the phones, we never say like, yeah, it'd make my life a lot easier. The company does require us to explain it, answer any questions, and get you all squared away. We don't just rebuttal, we rebuttal then close, right? So we say, we just got to figure out, you guys working the day shift, right? If you're showing options, right? You're showing options and they give you an objection. Don't just say, hey, I get where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. Right now we do have a mortgage. And I know that was a big step for you. I get where you're coming from. But to be honest with you, when we really, really think about this, right now, the fact that you just got a mortgage is actually more reason to make sure that we're covered, because now we have even a bigger liability, right? So, and then let's say I'm doing that, right? And I'll say, like I said, what we need to, I don't want to stop there. I say, like I said, what we need to do is we need to figure out which one of these options makes the most sense and which one's going to fit the need the best, right? You rebuttal, then you go right back to the options. I used to literally go back and forth with people, back and forth. And I'd be like, why does it take me 30 minutes to close somebody? And I would listen to my recording, show my manager, and he's like, dude, you never went back to the close. He's like, do you think they're just going to fall in your lap, or they're going to look at you like a deer in the headlights? You know what I mean? So he always said, rebuttal, then close, just like on the phones. Yeah, so like I said, we just got to figure out, you guys working the day shift? Right? All right, hey, we just got to figure rebuttal, then close. Who can guess number 5? So first one was act calm. You guys can't look? Okay. Act calm. Second one was agree, understand, show empathy. Third one was proceed to rebuttal. 4 was close. Number 5, who can guess it?
Is it solidify?
Ooh, that's a good guess, girl. That's a really good guess. Stephen had a good guess too. Not solidify though. After,
Oh, see if they can qualify?
that's a good guess too. This is part of the closing recipe. So it's number 5, still in the close.
The application?
Recap. Application. It's still in the close. So we didn't get to the app yet. We didn't solidify
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Still
Is it
in the
tie downs?
close. That's a really good guess. One more guess. What do you think?
Summarize?
All right. So number 5 is shut up.
Oh, you
It's
shut up.
literally shut up. All right. There's a book I read. It's called Shut Up and Close.
Oh, yeah.
Some people literally will talk themselves out of a sale, right? So say what you were, let's say I said, so like I said, we just got to figure out which one makes the most sense to you and which one's going to fit the need the best for you and your family today. Okay. And I'll walk like this, right? First person that talks loses. You have to stay silent. You know what people do? They're like, oh, and by the way, Joe, it's guaranteed 4.5% interest, gonna ride with you forever. I just wanted to make sure you knew that too, okay? All right. And then it's silent for 2 seconds. They're like, do you guys have any questions? Right? It's too much. It's too much. Let them close themselves. Actually, as a matter of fact, when someone says something like someone will be like, well, Joe, or they'll be like, do we really have to make this decision today? I don't go in there and start talking. I literally stay like this, out of the screen. You know what happens? Mary will probably answer and say, well, yeah, he did say that it has to be done today. Oh, yeah. They'll start talking amongst each other. Let them close themselves. You did everything. You went through the whole damn thing for 2 hours. Now they're going to close. Okay. You don't want to talk there. Right. I'm not even joking with you guys. I had to sit. I can't even make this up. I had to sit with a guy. This is in person. I was doing it in person. Dude, and it's funny because I train this and it's awkward. I'm not going to lie. You got to get used to getting uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It's weird. The silence, if it's 2 minutes, it feels weird. I had one guy, I swear to you, just single guy. And I said, so what we need to do is we need to figure out which one of the options, makes the most sense to you and which one's going to fit the need the best for you and your family. And when you're in person, you write it like this and I slide it to them, right? So I slid it to them and I go to my computer and I'm sitting there like this. I kid you not, guys. It was like 4 minutes later, 5 minutes later, I'm like, dude, 4 minutes when you're in the close, especially you're nervous, I was all nervous. I was literally like 4 minutes feels like an eternity, right? So I'm like, all right, so it's been 7 minutes goes by. 10 minutes goes by. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
finally, I went like this. I look over at him. He's like this, not even looking at the options. He's over here like this. Right. And I go like this. I look at him and I go like this. I go, right. He goes like this. And we look at each other just like this. Right. And we're looking at each other. And I go like this. and I looked at the options and I saw him go like this. And it's just funny because like no words were said and literally we're just looking at each other, right? All nonverbal. And I look like this and he goes, oh, did you want me to pick an option? And I was all red in the face. I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I'll just start with C, right? So like, dude, I'm telling you, like, it is going to be awkward. It is going to be weird. You're going to want to talk. And I train this and I'm literally like, oh, this is awkward, right? We're sitting there in silence the whole time, right? I'm telling you though, it's so funny though, because it was like all nonverbal, you know what I mean? And he wasn't even looking at the options anymore, right? So no matter what, guys, you have to follow that recipe, right? Like I said, it's going to be act calm, number 1. 2 is agree, understand, show empathy. 3 is proceed to rebuttal. 4 is close. And the last one's shut up and just let them close themselves. Okay. I'm telling you, the first person that talks just loses, and to have it in your mind and be ready. I'm usually thinking like really positive things, like they're going to do it 100%. Like if I have a trainee and they can see me on the side, I'm like, we got this, right? You want to have that positivity, like bring it to you. But all right, guys, well, I'll tell you what, that's going to conclude this. I gotta get wrapped up here. Hey, listen, all we got to do is follow those steps, guys. Follow that for closing. I'm telling you, it works. That's why they had me run the closing workshop. I definitely have a higher closing ratio, and it's going to be awkward. The first time I did it was weird, felt uncomfortable, but you don't really have a lot of success in your comfort zone. You got to get uncomfortable. Okay. So let's follow the control. Let's be sold ourselves so we can transfer that belief. Let's use the control and, obviously follow those recipes. Okay, guys, I appreciate your time. Let's freaking get it today. Come on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.